Alright, so we all know that the new It remake is in theaters right now, and in my last video I promised that I was going to rewatch and review the old one. I've watched it several times during the last week. I'm pumped for the new one. Here's my DVD copy right there. The original was made in 1990. I was 6 years old. I didn't actually watch this film until I was 9. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I was already watching R-rated horror movies. I already was fascinated with horror and things that were different and definitely twisted. Thankfully, I have now grown up into this fine young fella who hasn't changed one bit whatsoever. Sorry, Mum. Now, the obvious thing about this movie for a lot of us, or people that are around my age, 30s, 40s, possibly late 20s, maybe that's a bit young, I don't know, depends how good your memory is, but there was a string of movies that featured young kids or teenagers who were always up against an evil force or were going on these absolutely awesome adventures, and it really made you feel like you were almost part of the movie. I know the movies I'm talking about are movies like The Lost Boys, Stand By Me, The Goonies. When you watch it as a child, you're a similar age to these characters, or you're coming close to that age, and you just kind of really feel like you're part of the film, or as though something like that can happen to you, that you can go out on this awesome adventure. So growing up into an adult, now I'm lucky enough to own all of these movies on DVD and Blu-ray, and I can re-watch it and relive those moments. Possibly for some people that have never seen those movies or grown up with them, wouldn't understand the connection that people like you and I have, but hey, it's their loss. For those of you that haven't seen the film or you're not aware what it's about, it is about an evil entity that terrorizes and kills children in Derry, Maine. Now, I say evil entity because a lot of people believe that it is actually Pennywise the clown. It's not true. It can actually shapeshift. It comes in many forms, but primarily is seen as Pennywise the clown. Whether that be because it's an assumption that clowns are always terrifying if they're evil and stuff, I don't know, but it seems to form as the clown primarily, but can shapeshift into children's greatest fears. So a lot of people are missing in Derry, Maine, and a group of kids called the Losers Club actually have experiences of their own with Pennywise, and then they all realise that something is actually going on. There's an evil force at work, and it's not just some sort of coincidence or a serial killer that's knocking off all these kids. It's actually it. And the kids are really up for a great challenge here, because whenever it terrorizes them and fails to kill them, adults that turn up actually can't see it or what it has done. For instance, when Beverly has all the blood coming out of the sink in the bathroom and she starts screaming, her father barges in. The room's covered in blood, but he can't see it. So she makes up a lie saying she saw a spider in the sink and it went in the drain and when whatever. But the point is, the kids are on their own with this one. So 7 kids, 6 boys, 1 girl, who all have had an experience with it and know of its existence, band together and decide to take it out for good. They enter the sewer system in Derry, Maine, where it seems to hide away and presumably calls it home. And of course, they find it there and appear to take him out for good. They make a pact, a promise, that if it ever resurfaces again in the future, they will come back together and take it out for good before it can harm any more children. It resurfaces every 27 years, and 27 years later, the kids are all grown up, they have their own lives that they're dealing with, and then obviously we're treated to each character and what they're up to 27 years later. They've all got their own issues. I think they all have issues. Nobody's actually completely happy. Some of them are well off and pretty rich, but they all seem to have problems in their lives. I think it has actually made an impact on everybody permanently. So they all return back to Derry. They all start having visions of it and facing their worst fears, because it feeds on your fears and he knows what you fear, or it knows what you fear, and that is exactly what appears right in front of you. If you're scared of your father and he's already deceased, well, guess what? It will reappear as your father and scare the living hell out of you. If you're scared of werewolves, then it will transform into a werewolf and then come at you as a werewolf, and then all of a sudden you'll run off and look behind you again and it will be present as Pennywise the clown, because it's like its primary shapeshift. So after they have a bit of reconnection, have a few bad experiences yet again as adults with it, they band together, they go out to take out it permanently, and this is a bit of the movie that I didn't really like that much. It wasn't too convincing. I think it tried to be a bit too clever for its good, and that is its actual form, which I think it took it too far. You know, for those of you that haven't watched it, I don't want to ruin it for you because I thought it went a bit overboard, and I think it's a little bit far-fetched, but that really is a really small negative that I just feel personally myself. The rest of the movie is fantastic. The first half is a lot of flashback sequences to the adults who are receiving phone calls from Mike. Mike is the only character that's actually still stayed in Maine, so he's obviously seen the return of it. He knows that it's back and makes the phone call to all the other characters, and once they receive a phone call, they have flashbacks to their childhood, and then we're treated to the childhood story. So first half of the film was flashbacks and childhood. Second half of the film was 27 years later, the adults band back together, have their own bad experiences with it, and then once again go to take him out, and his true form is actually revealed. And I thought it was a little bit far-fetched, but otherwise the movie is fantastic. It's 3 hours long. For the most part, it's divided into two halves, the childhood and the flashbacks and the adult life. A lot of people call this a mini-series. Because I was still too young, I don't know if it was aired on television in 30-minute episodes or something like that, I'm not too sure. The DVD that I have is an A and B side. Because the movie is so damn long, you have to like sort of flip the DVD over. I'm sure if there's a Blu-ray version out there that can fit the entire movie on Blu-ray, you would hope. But as far as I'm concerned, I've bought the DVD, it's a film, it's a 3-hour long movie. A lot of movies are 3 hours or even longer, so I call this a film. You can call it a miniseries, it doesn't really matter. Maybe originally it was, but either way, it's a Stephen King movie. And to this day, to me, it's very nostalgic. Growing up around the same age and watching these characters on screen come to life, facing evil, was just something that really hit home with me, and I'm sure a lot of you felt the same, particularly with those movies that I mentioned before, The Lost Boys, The Goonies, Stand By Me. They're all movies we can really relate to in our younger days, and it's a lot of it is actually stuff that I got up to with my friends as well. We got up to a little bit of mischief and did things that we probably shouldn't have done. So for me, movies like this are very nostalgic. I grew up with them, and I'm always going to love them. So I've tried to keep this review spoiler free. I did watch it several times during the last week. I cannot wait to do a review on the new It. If you guys and girls want to see that video real soon, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and of course, as always, subscribing is optional. You'll get all the updates if you do subscribe, and you won't miss my brand new review. Other than that, I'll be doing Diablo videos, of course, as always, and I'm playing Destiny 2 right now, and I might show you guys a bit of gameplay of Destiny 2 and the things I get up to in Destiny 2, so make sure you stay tuned for those videos. But in the meantime, my final score for the original Stephen King It will have to be a 12 out of 13. I enjoy every bit of this movie except for the end. The effects are definitely quite aged now. You have to sort of look past that and just accept it for what it is. But honestly, 3 hours just flies by. I enjoy every minute of it, and to this day, I'm still not sick of it. As you all know, I'm banning 13. I score all my movies out of 13. And I can't wait to see all of you again real soon.